I seen someone ask this question and it got me to thinking, you're right. Why haven't the Latin community called on the Asians that's in California to go out and march and help? Why is the call of action only to black people? I just really want to know because they call themselves the model minority. So they supposed to be smarter, more educated. This is all per them. Why haven't y'all called on the Asians? Why do they get to sit back and chill? We already know they out to pew pew us. Let me know. Get down in the comments because I want to know. That's an interesting
And we
question.
will know soon. Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by, supporting your girl on this channel. So all credits goes to the creators in this video. So guys, in today's video, I think the question has moved from why is the black community not protesting to why is the Asian community, Asian Americans, why are they not supporting this ICE raids, or why are they supporting, right? Some are for and some are against. Let's watch these videos and see what these Asian creators have to say, and let me know what you think in the comment section.
Well, I get my fellow Asian community and where they're coming from when they say like, "Oh, like, where were you guys to help us when we got hate crime in 2020 and when we were getting racist remarks because of COVID?" Like, I understand it and I get where they're coming from, but it's like we can't stay petty about that. Like the Asian TikTok creators that like aren't saying anything, and like the community that's like staying quiet, it's not doing anything. Like we gotta help out, bro. Like ICE taking away people from their families is fucking crazy, bro. Come on now.
How the
Can't stay
hell are
quiet.
you gonna be Vietnamese American and think to yourself for even 1 second that Asians are not gonna be caught up in all of this? Someone just told me that that was a conversation that they just had with another Vietnamese American, and I will not stand by that ignorance. First of all, it's insane to me that you have to feel directly affected in order to feel empathy for others. Over Memorial Day weekend, 160 community members were deported on a single flight to Laos and Vietnam. ICE is already present in Orange County, Little Saigon. To those who didn't care before, do you now? Do you understand now? They're in our backyard. It makes me indescribably angry, and I am not good with words. To know that Vietnamese Americans don't care about what's happening when our own community came here only 2 generations ago. I wish I could articulate my words better, but it's just time for people to wake the hell up and stop being ignorant.
So I'm actually seeing the topic on why Asians don't speak up when it comes to a protest or speaking up for our rights. Because they honestly do not think they're a minority. A lot of Asians live under that whitewashed world. And that comes from me speaking from experience as a Vietnamese woman with black kids. I've heard every racial slur there is. Why are you with a black man? Your kids are gonna be dark. Your kids are gonna be like charcoal. Majority of Asian people are Trump supporters. They don't speak up. They don't fight. They don't speak on the situation. They don't even like talking about the situation. And when they do, they sound stupid and ignorant. They don't like doing that because in their mind, they're white. Majority of Asians feel the whiter the skin, the better. And that's all I'm going to say on that. That's why they don't speak up. That's why they don't make a scene when it comes to fighting for our rights. Because they think this is not going to affect them. As if 12 Vietnamese nail techs just didn't get deported because they're illegal immigrants. So let's be clear on why this is happening and who it's happening to, because it's just not Mexicans, okay?
So many people asking Asian creators to speak up about the whole riots in LA and all these deportation things. What is there to say? We support the deportations of illegals.
Sir, you look like the immigration issue you're ranting about. So the projection is wild because you look very illegal.
Asian people are really dependent on, migrant labor.
The loss of immigrants has the potential for a full economic collapse because of significant GDP reduction, labor shortages, increased prices, reduced consumer spending and demand, and billions lost in tax revenue. An economic collapse affects everyone. Immigrants make this country thrive.
This presidency promised that they would deport illegal immigrants. They're doing that. Why are you crying? You see it like these immigrants are waving the flags of other countries, burning down the flag of the U.S., and then you think Asian people want to support that? No, they want to stay away from that. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. Asian people don't want to focus on the negativity and, say what they're really thinking. Deport, right? Deport illegal immigrants.
He is the embodiment of the model minority, which was created to pit Asians against other marginalized groups, rewarding obedience, silence, and hard work with crumbs of white approval. And he ate that up. Tap dancing for people who don't even want you here. No matter how hard you try to prove you hate yourself more than they ever could, and try so hard to distance yourself from the very people who fought for the rights that you now leech off of. You can grovel all you want for white validation, but you'll never earn validation from the same people who call you Kung Flu and China virus. Remember that? Kung Flu and China virus? You are not native. So how do you think it is that you were able to come to the United States? You think it was the whites who just kindly handed you an invite into our country out of the kindness of their heart? No, you got here because black and brown people, far braver than you, bled in the streets. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 made it possible for you to live your American dream as the oppressor's lapdog. You're welcome. The people brave enough to fight out in the streets are the same people keeping you here. That fight going on right now is again a fight that you will benefit from just so that you can parade around like you earned those rights when you have never fought for anything in your weak little existence. Not your people, not your dignity, not even yourself. But be careful, because if they deport all of the people who fight for our rights, you might find yourself in an internment camp, because who's going to fight for you? You don't even fight for yourself.
I've seen this question pop up a lot. Why is the Asian community so quiet on the ICEraid topic? Now, I'm not speaking for all Asian people, but this is just my point of view. My family's from Laos. My parents spent years in refugee camps before being able to come here legally. So a lot of us from a very young age was taught accountability. We were getting lectures after lectures after lectures on doing the right thing, getting our ass beat for doing wrong things. So there are a lot of Asian people that are for deportations of, illegals. And not everybody, okay? Not all Asian people are for it, but I see most of us are. And we understand why you want to come here illegally and skip the process. People just want to live good lives, do better for themselves. But there is a right way of doing things. So if you do come here illegally and get caught, you need to take accountability for your actions. That's why a lot of times if you see an Asian person get deported, we don't make a big fuss about it, because, they got to take accountability for their actions. And they know that. We don't have hate towards law enforcement because, they're just doing their part. They're just doing their jobs because they didn't do their part. And we do feel terrible about, or at least I do feel terrible about, families being ripped apart. But, they know the risk involved and they were willing to take that risk. Again, you got to take accountability. And a lot of people refer Asians as, model immigrants because, we are here to better ourselves, get an education, respect law and order. We just don't want any trouble. We want peaceful lives. And so if we do get in trouble for something that we did, then we own up to it. That's it. So my heart does go out to the families of the deported. Hopefully they can find their way back, hopefully legal, so that they may, live peaceful lives. I wish I'm seeing this question pop up a lot. Why is the Asian community so quiet on the ICEraid topic? Now, I'm not speaking for all Asian people, but this is just my point of view. My family's from Laos. My parents spent years in refugee camps before being able to come here.
Okay. I'm also Lao. My family, also refugees. They came to the States legally. They were sponsored by a church, right? How do you think that they got to these refugee camps from Laos? Refugee camps were in Thailand. They trekked through the jungle, crossed rivers. Do you think that they did that legally? You think that they flew into Thailand with papers? But like, be so fucking for real. Do you think that like Mexican people crossing the border are just doing it for shits and giggles? They're doing it to flee danger. It is like a life or death situation for them, just like it was for our family. What is there to not understand? And then you say that Asian people are typically, law-abiding citizens. We are rule followers. In the 90s and the 2000s, do you know how prevalent Asian gangs were? You were older than me, I'm pretty sure. There were gangs coast to coast. There were gangs in the fucking Midwest. I'm a U.S. citizen. I grew up here. I was born here. I've taken all the fucking history classes that the state will offer you. Okay? The protests are not saying that immigrants shouldn't be punished, I guess, for not doing things the legal way. The protests are because people, whether they're documented or undocumented here, are being kidnapped by ICE agents. ICE agents. Whether you like it or not, whether you are a documented or undocumented person in the United States, you have certain rights. Those rights are being taken away from those people. That's what the protests are about. I genuinely can't wrap my head around the fact that people that have gone through the same or similar hardships cannot have empathy for each other because of a piece of fucking paper.
Why are so many Asian Americans so silent right now? That's because they didn't vote. Yes, they didn't vote because they didn't like Kamala from their internal misogyny or internal racism and felt indifferent enough about the orange man so that they thought that a no vote was going to the orange man. So the reason why they're not upset right now is because they voted for this. That's why. And that's not me excusing their behavior. I am a disabled person. I was advocating for Kamala before the election, so I had the chance to talk to a lot of my friends. They're not my friends anymore, but people in my life about how this election was going to affect me and people like me. And if they cared about me, why they should vote for Kamala. And they still didn't care. They couldn't care less because at the end of the day, it was all about taxes. Yeah, their tax break. The problem is Asians that have a level of wealth feel this closeness to white people because white people were the only ones that had that level of wealth for so long that they feel like they're getting a chance to be part of the white club, but they're not. And if I could give an insight into maybe why Asians are like this, it's because a lot of our parents and even my generation as a millennial, we have seen our mother countries very impoverished. For me, I'm Korean, so I know South Korea's history. South Korea was fully bankrupt in the 80s and saw their first economic boom in the 2000s. It hasn't been that long, and they're in the top 20 GDP in the world now. That level of wealth growth, normal citizens see that and think, oh my god, if I'm just smart enough and if I invest correctly, I can also get there. And if you look at South Korea, it's an oligarchy. That country is ran by 3 families, and the main one is the Samsung family. And they have so many scandals. They have done some bad stuff, and the country just lets them get away with it. And if you look at the election turnout, it shows that South Koreans are starting to wake up to the state of oh, we're an oligarchy. But Korean Americans, look at the past of Korea, see that you can still succeed, feel like there's a privilege of being in America, utilize the model minority method, and then try to enter the 1%. They think that they could break into the 1%. Wake up. You're not. You're not white enough. You will never be white enough. They will never accept you.